Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Welcome back. Kogi State Police Command has confirmed that gunmen attacked the Secretary of the State Governorship Election Tribunal, David Umar Mike, on Monday in Lokoja and made away with sensitive petition documents on the just concluded gubernatorial election in the state. The State Police Command Public Relations Officer, PPRO, SP Williams Aya, disclosed this in Lokoja on Wednesday. The police authority said the attackers of the State Governorship Tribunal Secretary carted away all the petition documents filed by 5 political parties at gunpoint. According to the police authorities, the documents carted away include petitions filed by 4 parties: Action Alliance AA, Actions People's Party APP, People's Redemption Party PRP, and Social Democratic Party SDP, as well as 2 records, a bag containing his personal items. The police added that the incident happened just before the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN office at about 1 p.m. on Monday, while victims were on their way to the tribunal venue at the State High Court Complex, Lokoja. My guests this morning are Innocent Duluba, social affairs commentator, and Achike Chude, elections observer and public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Good morning. To be with you.
All right, so the big story here is a case of our democracy, a case of a stain to our democracy. Electioneering ought to be a place and a situation where Nigerians are excited and happy to be part of, but unfortunately, the sad situation is what we have. Now, let me start with you, Chike. Well, what does it mean when we are told that this kind of things happen?
Yeah, I think one thing comes to mind. Not that it has happened, but that it happens at will. Various parts of the country, and the perpetrators get away with it. So it is because of the frequency and the consistency of these events happening within our polity that simply tells you one thing that can explain it: the weakness of the Nigerian state. The Nigerian state is weak. The Nigerian state can neither protect itself nor protect the citizens. And this is what we have been seeing all over the years in this country. And it's not just people will just talk, make noise, and the place we do the normal saber rattling. We're going to deal with these people, we're going to get the perpetrators until they happen somewhere else again. And so institutions, it's not just that the Nigerian state is weak, institutions of the state are weak, are compromised. And so when you have this kind of thing, this kind of structural weakness, things like this will continue to happen. Because, and again, it's not only that, there are people who benefit from this chaos. Somebody has described some of the things that happen in Nigeria as organized chaos. For instance, the issue of fuel importation into the country. Fuel importation has enriched a lot of people. And in order to make it work possible, the refineries will have to be stopped from refining fuel. So it's deliberate. And then the state itself, the weakness shows that, because even the argument of the state, to Nigerians, is that there are too many bad people in the oil sector. Only a few people are benefiting from fuel subsidy. Therefore, let us remove fuel subsidy. We have seen that fuel subsidy does not just benefit a few people. It benefits all Nigerians. Because the unprecedented hardship that Nigerians are going through tells you that the argument by the government is very frivolous and false. And then again, the weakness of the government is manifested even in that statement. There are some people that are bad, they are bad people that they are stealing money. In order to steal money, let's increase fuel subsidy and impoverish the people and make things difficult for people because we want to punish a few people. So in order to get at these very few people that government knows and government is not able to do anything about, they have to punish all Nigerians just to get at these people. But who are these people? These people are also in government. They are part of government.
The elites of the elites.
Oh, they are part of government. The crisis in the Niger Delta, the stealing of crude oil, everybody knows that you cannot bring in a super tanker if you're not a very, very powerful person. Guided also by military gunboats and the rest. Only the very few have access to such power and influence. So, unfortunately, we have seen not only is the Kogi thing, is this thing just happened in Kogi State, but the elections that led to this particular situation itself was questionable in Kogi State, as well as the other 2 states where elections took place. So what we have seen is the danger that afflicts the Nigerian system, and that unfortunately, haphazardly, or coincidentally, or funnily enough, or ironically enough, that danger to our democracy is coming from the organization and the institution that is supposed to ensure that we have good elections, INEC. Why are people upset? You have to ask yourself. Some people are upset about what might happen at the tribunal. But we also know that in Nigeria, and it's not just me talking about the corruption within the judiciary. Very prominent Nigerians have talked about this corruption. Chidi Odekalo has talked about it. Mohammed Datijo, the second in command to the present Chief Justice of Nigeria, has talked about judges finding themselves in the company of very strange politicians. People under normal circumstances they would never have been in the same room with. So all of these things are a manifestation of the rot in the system and the fact that you have badly conducted elections in the country, and that is not just enough, because the people who have won this election can go to the judges and simply pay. Perhaps, the calculation is this is what has been speculated as happening everywhere. I'm rounding up now. And that is the fact that you can go to this, instead of doing this, you just go to the judges, from what we have been told. Olumide Akpata, the last NBA chairman, also talked about the total capture of the Nigerian judiciary, and that the political class has almost succeeded in capturing the Nigerian judiciary. And this is what we are seeing. So I'm just surprised. The only thing that surprises me is, why cut away this evidence? They should have just gone ahead and do what they do. And that is offer incentives to the judges. And then they will just give them whatever ruling that they want. But I think they're also being smart, the people that did this. There's going to be a lot of money they will spend on the judiciary. So instead of spending this money, this is my thinking, based on what, and that's why it's not just me talking about corruption. Because people will say, how do you know? I have quoted impeccable sources. So the former deputy to the CJN and former MBA, who should know. These people should know. You understand? So what they should have done, I think, is maybe what they are trying to avoid is spend these hundreds of millions of naira on the judges. If we can make sure that there's no evidence, take away this thing there, you don't even need to even settle the judges, because without any serious evidence, the judges have no choice than to throw the case away. And I think that this is what they have, and they have succeeded.
Wow. It's actually a very funny one. Mr. Innocent, it's theatrical, how this petition was carted away. Now, my question is, what does this mean? What does this mean for the case?
I think I've been educated by what Trudy has said here, but I think in the country we are in, there is a reckless affront on the masses.
A reckless affront on the masses. Please, can you share that? Okay.
On the rights or power the masses have in selecting or deciding who represents them. You see, this is something that has happened, and the consequences are far-fetched. See, election is the opportunity for electorates to elect their representatives. Now, representatives are the hallmark of any democracy.
True.
Now, democracy is a shred, it's not a whole, it's a quintuplets based on equality, individual liberty, popular sovereignty, respect for human rights, and the rule of law. Minus one of these, democracy is incomplete. And in this case, the popular sovereignty, the right of the people to decide their representative, who they will hold accountable, is missing. Now, with constitutional provisions, petitions have been filed. I mean, it's like seasonal. After every election, tribunal will convene. So, and like Judy said, there is a miscarriage. That evidence must not get to its destination, so that whatever will transpire beyond that doesn't take place. What I might say is comical. If ARPP, SDP, all of the PRP brought evidence as petitions, do they have copies? Let them restart again. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think they brought the original copies and deleted the what they put together to arrive at what they presented. You know, so let them read again, let read how many times. That's what I think, because he has told us it's reoccurrent. He has told us it's theatrical in your way. So, and when these things become predictable, you wonder, because what thrives in a court is evidence. Minus evidence, there is no case. Yeah. Minus evidence, there's no case.
Wow. And Mr. Achike, Nigerians need no soothsayer to explain to them the principal actors of some of these, issues and how they happened and why it happened. My question is, why the desperation from the principal actors? Of course, we all know who they are. Why so much desperation?
For them, it's an existential issue. And I will just quote some of them to tell you why you are seeing this level of desperation. Olusegun Obasanjo said it was a do-or-die affair. A do-or-die affair. That tells you the level of premium that they place on winning elections. Then they talked about garrison commander, Adedibo. What was supposed to be in the job of a garrison commander? These are anti-democratic statements. Then the current president talked about what you do with elections. You take it, you grab it, and then you run away with it. It's an anti-democratic statement.
The very infamous statement.
Sam Adedibo said when he had issues with the governor, then governor for your state, he said, this man is giving security votes. Is he not entitled to 25% at least of security votes? Chris Oba got Ngige to sign an irrevocable payment standing order. Every month, monies must go to him, regardless of what happens. With the finances of the state, he did not care. So you see in these statements, that's why they will go, they will do everything. And don't also forget that politicians sell every single thing they have. They don't have any business. Most of them do not have any business.
So they've literally made
that they go to
political career.
Yes, when they are no longer in power. So they must remain in power because their existence, their ability to send their children abroad to school, their ability to go for treatment abroad, and send their own family members abroad is dependent on continually being within the corridors of power. And so, and then again, they take encouragement from the passivity and docility of the Nigerian people, because we have not been able to say, for instance, doctors are leaving the country. A few days ago, they said 4,000 had left again.
So, Sebe, do you think it's because Nigerians are docile, or do you think they have weaponized what they feel is an issue? It's a very big issue for us.
Of course, there are multiple reasons why the Nigerians are not able to act.
Yeah.
First of all, they've been relatively docile and passive. 1. 2, ignorance is a problem. They do not understand that they themselves have power over the political leadership. And you hear the average Nigerian, when you want to criticize the government or do certain things, they say, you want to fight government can destroy you. That is the mindset of the average Nigerian. Then poverty has also been weaponized parochial issues, sentiments such as religious, parochialism, ethnicity, geopolitics have also been weaponized. So, and the essence of this is to keep the people disunited. Because the day the people find their growth, and they no longer see Nigeria from the prism of Yoruba nation, the prism of an Igbo ethnic enclave, from the prism of Hausa or Fulani supremacy, and those from the Middle Belt areas and the Niger Delta and all of that. The day they no longer see things from that perspective, that the politicians are in big trouble. And that's why the politicians will never allow that. They have to keep on telling us that there is an issue among ourselves. That the reason why, of course, try to talk too much about how bad things are in the country. The first thing people will look at is the person that is talking about the badness of the country. If he's a Yoruba person, they'll say all kinds of things. If it's an Igbo person or a Calabar person, they will also say all kinds of things. And same thing, if you also have an Igbo person, a Hausa person, Calabar person, and all of that, they have so much weaponized it. And the essence is to keep the people divided, because we know that they are not divided. It's simple. They are not. They are pali-palis. They might have their political differences, and they do from time to time, when they fight themselves during election after election and the rest. But you just have one or two genuine people. And that is not to say that within the system, there's nobody that is, that's had the mindset of a greater Nigeria that wants to do the right thing, that understands that the resources of this country are so much as to make Nigeria the envy of many nations. These people are there. But those who, the gatekeepers of the corruption in the country, who benefit from bad governance, from misgovernance, are there to protect their interests. And those interests is to make sure that people, good people, don't get to power, because they will disrupt a lot of things. You can see, again, perhaps one way of fighting back, for instance, is sometimes when, like in some of these West African countries, you saw the reaction of Africans in those places when the military took over. And you expect that they will be so angry and appalled at the military takeover of their government that they will insist on return to democracy. But what you saw were people embracing the military. Why? Because the people felt, well, we have tried against these people. We cannot get it right. Even when they conduct elections, they manipulate the process, and the people we voted for don't get to power. Therefore, they have bullied us.
Yes.
So if the military now can bully them, then we're very okay with that.
If the military can bully them, it's actually. Do you have this? You were wanting to add one or two things from?
Well, Kogi State is I don't know, the headquarters of Band Road in Nigeria. Kogi State is a state centrally located with over 9 neighbors. Kogi State has the indices of development to be a powerful state. But like we have heard, the trajectory allows for plundering. Yes. And so the struggle, the competition for who ascends the mantle of resource control will favor anti-people positions. Kogi State, lovely. You have parts of them from the Gwari and Cotton Karfi, a faction from the old Benue, the Igalas are dominant, parts of Akoko, Kede. Some even claim they should be in Ondo Ekiti State from the Kaba axis. So it's a beautiful conglomeration where, like he said, unity of purpose is the hallmark. But in this case, there is the intended forces of disunity. So even as we look at Nigeria, it becomes a microcosm for the country.
True.
Yeah, the Okene people say that. Oh, Gorima goes in the rope. Edo is Kabana. Oh, no, they are from Kotoka. Oh, they are Ibera. And with all of this, the center, as we all know, cannot hold. And you wonder, the purpose of governance or government is the popular implementation of the people's program.
Very true.
I like to always point to the fact that Nigeria is a big reference for an overpopulated country. when these incidents happen, there is the semblances of shortages of manpower. Who were accompanying these vehicles, or convoy, or people? How many? Protecting such materials of this high sensitivity. And like I said, in the distant, in the far-fetched consequence and affront of the masses. People will wait for 4 years patiently, hoping that this time they have the opportunity to vote. What the Nigerian man has been reduced to is to perform the ritual of reaching the ballot box. And the government thumbs its chest as fulfilling all righteousness in maintaining the court and the circle of election. I call it political Olympics for 4 years. Now, as soon as you drop your vote, it is snatched, it is manipulated, it was not read on BVAT, and all the mundane. This is 2023, the age of artificial intelligence, and we enmesh and celebrate the parochial. That kind of vehicle, just as we were talking about the incidents in what state was that? Was it Kwara, or where that the finance director was killed the other time? Those kind of vehicles can be accompanied by drones. I would repeat myself, it could be boring. They say it's like broken record. I usually ask, how much are the jeeps at the National Assembly? How much are the yachts? Juxtapose that, how much are these intended security? How much? How much? And so it's an affront on the masses. And I'm sorry to round up. Yeah. It does not look like the intention of the masses are being carried out by those in power.
But if I might ask, before now it used to be believed that those at the helm of affairs, those whose authority is directly in their hands, are often seen to be guilty of some of these things. But in the case of Kogi State, it's playing both ways. The higher Bello has been, there's this desire of getting him assassinated twice. Just most recently, the INEC rec was almost assassinated. And we can't say it is coming from the side of Yahaya Bello. Of course, we should want to believe it's coming from the opposition. But the question is, why can't we just have a clean slate where everybody can come to the round table and say, hey, let's give peace a chance and see where we can go from there?
I will say this very briefly. If I am a good leader, I can also be assassinated. Do you understand? But the people will see me as their martyr. So let's not point to the attempts in negative perspectives. There are good leaders that have been killed. Are you getting me?
Okay.
But they are celebrated, they are commemorated. But a bad leader also may also have attempts on his life repeatedly. And you see, while you are alive, it behooves you to point at evidence of your good governance. I started by telling you that Kogi State, among many other Nigerian states, is the headquarters of bad roads. So I say it on this platform, looking at the other list of governors before, where would we place Governor Yahaya Bello in the annals of history? In Lagos, you can see that trajectory. There is, Fashola did this. Ambode did this. If you go through that with Kogi, are the governors bettering their predecessors? So, if not, again, there will be clamors, there will be rebellion, there will be revolt. Look, that is where it should be said. Nigerians are being touted as being docile. But, I mean, among the docile, there are those who will not just lie and I'll just drop them. Maybe he wants to.
You have anything to add to that? If you have, I think I would love to add this question. You've been covering election matters for a while. Now the question is, isn't there, opportunities to have soft copies for some of these documents that were purportedly carted away by criminals, can't we have soft copies as buy for the hard copies that, if possibly issues happen with them, we can always have opportunities to still peruse, what the document says with the soft copies?
Sigwebika has already talked about that. I mean, the issue is these things were produced, these petitions were produced somewhere. They were produced on a system, usually a laptop. And you don't, have this petition and then you print the hard copies and then immediately you delete the soft copy. So what that tells you is that there's a soft copy. Unless they be so thorough that the other things that have happened behind the scene that we don't know, they have gone to where the soft copies are and maybe made sure that they destroyed the equipment that produced them or deleted it completely from the system. And then that is what perhaps emboldened them to now go after the hard copies. Otherwise, people will say they wasted their time. If they can quickly, immediately, generate another set of election petitions, through the soft copy, then they have absolutely wasted their time. So I want to believe that there is a soft copy, unless, like I said, they've gone behind the scene to ensure that soft copies are destroyed. Because again, there's a time frame within which you have to run this petition. That is very clear. Though I agree almost 100% with what Igwebike said.
Innocent.
Innocent.
Yes.
And if what Innocent said, virtually everything he said. The only point of divergence was when he talked about population. Nigeria is not overpopulated. Our leaders want to give us the impression that the country is overpopulated. And the reason Nigeria is not populated is that the standard definition of a population is that you define a population subject to the availability of the resources that you have. So with these resources, and that is just the truth, we know that the problem of the country is a problem of corruption. It's a problem of having access to the public till, which the questionable politicians and elites take a public will. You can imagine, for instance, if our resources, we had a group of responsible politicians, patriotic politicians, committed politicians, and they used the resources of the people for the good of the people across the length and breadth of this country. Nobody can talk about overpopulation.
Very true.
And and besides, the greatest democracies in the world are overpopulated, well populated.
Yeah.
We're talking about India.
Or China.
What are the economic indices of India? India is doing so well. What of China? The United States going to maybe 400,000. Brazil,
400 million.
It's a far cry from what Nigeria is. These are heavily populated countries. And you know what? The biggest asset a country has.
It's the manpower.
It's the manpower. It's not, I remember Clinton coming to Nigeria and going to address the National Assembly some years back. And he was saying, look, that the greatest asset of Nigeria, he pointed to the ground. He said, it's not what is under my feet. It's what he said.
Very true.
You understand? Because with this, the Europeans were able to build Europe and were able to do so many things, and of course, we also know what is going on with the population issues across the world. Elon Musk has been talking about it. He was the first prominent person to talk about the danger of dwindling population.
Dwindling population.
Oh, yes, globally. Because some of these leftists, I will use that word, some of these people tend to look at who have penetrated the walls of the United Nations. We want to reduce population, across the world.
Do you think there's an agenda to it?
Of course, there's always an agenda. But the arguments fall flat when you look at the reality. Japan is in an emergency situation. And virtually all of Europe. Because what is happening is that they have fallen below the replacement ratio for
even North Korea recently.
Oh, North Korea, exactly.
North Korea.
Yes. So you see, this issue, this lifestyle, this, seeking, for a world without certain values and where you are going to be your own God has a problem. Now, Europe is under threat of extinction. Italy, United Kingdom, Spain. Some years ago, Spain appointed a commissioner, a minister for laws a minister for love and happiness, something like that. Because they needed to also push the people in a particular direction. The only success in Europe is in Eastern Europe, and that is Viktor Orban of, I think, Hungary. Of Hungary. He is the only one, because for any child that is born, they give them maybe $20,000 to any family. So families are encouraged to have children, to also preserve the Hungarian the succession dynasty. It is an act of irresponsibility for a generation of political leaders to sit over the liquidation of their civilization. And that's what we're seeing in many of these places. And lastly, talking about population in Africa. Africa is said, it is said that by 2050, a quarter of the world's youthful population will come from Africa. So if we get political leadership right across the continent of Africa, Africa will rule the world.
Again.
Exactly. And so you look at the youths that we have, it's strength. But what do you engage them in? Criminality, election, ballot box, snatching, attacking, stealing petition papers in Kogi State. That's what they have brought our youths to do. And this is very dangerous, because eventually there's going to be a pushback as things get more and more difficult for Nigerians. So you say, so when you look at this political class, no wonder Professor Abubakar Momo once said at an event that I helped organize in Lagos, he said, you cannot call this group of people elites, political class.
Okay.
That you cannot call them, because there are certain elements that characterize a political class. They work to protect themselves. But this political class keeps on moving from one mistake to the other. So he will just call them maybe elites, but not a class, because a class acts in a particular way to protect that class. And you don't protect that class by taking everything that belongs to the people. You must have a way of giving something back to the people. But here, they're taking everything from the people, and the people are watching them. And if care is not taken, there is going to be a blowback. So we hope that some of them will be frightened enough, even when they hear this, because it is true, whether we like it or not. And we hope that might push them towards the path of trying to say, look, this thing we have done, this looting we have done, this undermining of the system for personal interest, we need to change our ways, because all of us are in danger. But these people are too far gone in their ways to change.
Like you said, we call them the elite, but not in the elite class. Now let's move to our second conversation this morning. Any hopes of justice for victims of the bombing in Kaduna? Now, it's been 4 days since the Nigerian army mistakenly dropped a bomb on Tudumbiri village in Igabi local government area, Kaduna State, in which at least 100 innocent civilians were killed. But Governor of the state, Uba Sani, has yet to return to Kaduna from the United Arab Emirates, as Kaduna residents mourn and seek justice. President Bola Tinubu, whom the Kaduna governor accompanied to the United Arab Emirates for the climate summit in Dubai, returned to Nigeria late Tuesday. It's unclear why the Kaduna governor stayed behind in Dubai. Meanwhile, angry Kaduna residents in Zaria on Tuesday took to the streets to protest the erroneous bombing of civilians on Sunday night. Ajike Chud, human rights activist and public affairs, as well as Innocent Aduluba, are still here with me. Now, let's make sense out of this issue that has become so popular in Nigeria. Mr. Achike, the question is, the Kaduna bombing might have been indeed an error, but do we seem deliberate about addressing the issue?
Do a vox pop across the length and breadth of this country. Go and talk to the people on the streets, and Nigerians will tell you what they think about what has happened. We've already heard a lot of Nigerians say we've seen this thing several times. Nothing is going to come out of it. Nobody is going to be punished. And we continue the way we had lived until another one happens, because others have happened in the past. How many people were punished? They did investigation for each of those things. How many people were punished? So you have a situation where even the political class, because the political class, especially the government of the day, having all manners of issues, I suspect does not want to cause so much disruption within the military. Because if you're saying that people who did this must be punished, how high up can you go? And so the politicians are usually afraid of the military. And so it is why they spend so much to make the generals and top echelons of the military as comfortable as possible. And so I do not think that because there's no argument that can be made by the army. I don't know what kind of mistake, because we already know that even when you use missile-guided technology, for instance, to hit a place, it goes directly to the place. And in some instances, or most times, you have to make sure that you get your ground operations well. Sometimes you have a spotter on the ground that will not give the coordinates of wherever the enemy might be. And then that target will be based on the coordinate that has been given on the ground. So we are in the age of technology. We know that even any small thing, one small ball can appear so large when you look at it from outer space. So how can it then, when the army now says, well, terrible, what we did was terrible. I mean, innocent people were killed, but we got some terrorists. And you hear that. That's a justification.
But
whether we like it or not, yes.
Yes, but can we say that inadequacy was born as a result of the sect of the military, the NAF, not being responsible for that particular, because of course it wasn't done by...
It cannot be the NAF, because the NAF has done their own share of killing civilians through air bombardment in the past. In fact, this is the first time that we're knowing that the military themselves are also
equally doing the same.
You understand? And then I think it makes sense. Instead of relying always on the NAF, they have their own structure to be able to take care of their own enemies. In America, who are the Marines? So the Marines also have access, are in a position to also do some land combat, because they are military people, it's not always in the air.
Yeah.
So you also have the army also having some level of air firepower from the army. When what they have is not enough, they invite the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
So, come in. That is the way modern warfare is conducted now. So it's still before thing to find out that this kind of thing happened. But whether the government is deliberate, the government has deliberately said that they are going to investigate this, and they have set up an investigating panel. That's been deliberate. The president has also talked about it. Maybe that's been deliberate. But will they be able to address the issues the way they want to address it, including making sure that you just don't pay only compensation to the people that died, but that the question is, does the government have the courage to hold the military hierarchy accountable? The politicians do not. Because I suspect that one of their primary responsibility or primary inclination or motivation is to keep the military top brass happy. So they don't want to work.
So they can have their way, and
we have seen some levels of malfeasance by the military. The other time, the army invaded the EFCC premises. Was it the army or the Air Force? Invaded the EFCC premises, blocked everywhere. What did the federal government do? Because this is one government. The other time it was Kebbi State or so, that the army also invaded, and the police inspector also was killed in the process. What did the government do? Then I think the customs too was the way they have issues with another, paramilitary
agency of the government.
So what it tells you is that members of the armed forces are doing whatever they want, because they know that they cannot be called to order. There's a commander-in-chief, but the commander-in-chief is also a politician who is also thinking of how he can remain in power. So the only, apart from impeachment proceedings against a governor or a president, apart from popular uprisings by the people in protest of their condition, the only other institution that has what it takes to remove the military. I mean, the civilian government is the military. So they keep them happy. And we do not also want the military because we are also aware of the damage
exactly
in this country. So we have to keep them out. But if you ask the ordinary Nigerian, if what happened in Niger happens here, you're going to see people on the street in celebration.
True, very true.
Because they hold the politicians responsible for the miserable life that they are living.
Found themselves. Mr. Innocent, there's no gainsaying, error has been made. People are killed. The army chief has gone to apologize. People are saying it's not enough. What do you think is enough?
If we look at the global picture, the Israel-Hamas situation, that's a war, an outright war. And Hamas has not been on record to have killed this number we have in Nigeria that is an accident. Can you beat that now? the level of casualty on the Israeli side has not been recorded to be up to 100 in an outright war. And then here, accidentally, we are killing in hundreds. Accidentally. You know, there are things you hear, you wonder if you heard it well. And with this accidentally, in 2000, there were bombings in Ikeja cantonment. Accidentally. If you take federal budgets from 2000 till today, the amount is dizzying. Go to Ikeja cantonment, the buildings are still standing unrenovated. Unrenovated. In fact, I attended a primary school in that cantonment. I don't drive to look at the building. The school has been shut down. So it's not renovated. From 2000, this is its 23rd year. You're asking me about accidents. So are these intentional mistakes? You know, I don't know if such oxymorons are allowed. So that my worry is, maybe we should commend the military. They've gone from the mundane to the air with a drone. And that will save a lot of budget on the artillery. Foot soldiery. You know, but like Achike said, there is a hierarchy. The military is the most organized when we look at hierarchy of command. So if we're looking for who to talk to us, to take a responsibility, it's not far-fetched. I don't think I'm wrong. Somebody is in charge of this department that Marshall led out for these operations that became an infamy. I don't know yet if it's on record that an army person has sat in front of pressmen to answer questions, or they were just reports of explanations of apology. But in this kind of thing, you show your face. Journalists will question you. How did this happen? What the expertise of the men involved? What was the proximity of your training base to a settlement? Because look, the explosives are lethal. If you take a look at the video of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was nothing to gauge how wide it will go. So what kind of explosives were used? Was it proper in that space? We complain in Nigeria that we are victims of desert encroachment. That means we have lives that are desolate, where the menace of human death can be avoided. Why don't we go to such places? You know, so many questions. But like I started, in a war place, this number has not been recorded. So it tells you the level of value placed on human lives, you know.
But if I might add to this, do you think in any way this would affect the moral gusto of the military in pursuit of a terrorism?
Well, the questions are neither here nor there. I know Igabi. As soon as you leave Kaduna, there is an army barrack there called One Give. And then to the left, there is a NAF base in Mando. So if you are going straight, you pass the trade fair area, those three actually come you around the gap in say, all route Zaria. So, and gradually, Kaduna and Zaria are becoming what you have like Lagos Moe. You become places, houses are
becoming encroaching in.
not even Zaria, Chachi. Because that's like a midpoint between them. So those are heavily populated places. And your question is
My question is the incident. Do you think it's going to affect the morale of the army in pursuit of terrorism?
good. I wanted your questions to bring me home. That axis, yes, it was a military drill. It's not reputed for terrorism. I would rather answer you by begging the military to take the operations to areas Nigeria has spotted as notorious for this. There is the what's the forest in Maiduguri there?
This is Sambisa.
Sambisa forest. We have the incidents of the gold or whatever mineral happening in Zamfara. You know, the Kaduna Abuja highway, we have, it's notorious for kidnappings and interceptions of people traveling. I would say this, if the military have communicated it as a mistake, the worry for me is there are fatalities that are irreversible.
Yeah.
But lives will go on. If we have another incident of unrest, arrested, the military will not be crying that, oh,
Because something happened.
they definitely. But are they, like he said, the records are so much and nothing is happening. It will now be like cry wolf. And that's where you have to do things right and be remembered for what you have done right. My worry is, I just told you about the Ikeja canton. We have not imprisoned or jailed anybody. How about replenishing the buildings? How about refixing the buildings? How about giving low-ranked soldiers good accommodation to live and be motivated to give quality national service? You know, how about that? And this thing rebounds again, like we've been talking, to the leadership, those who are in charge of these policies. What is the direction? Have we heard, I dare say, from the governor of that state, who is also territorially the chief secretary?
And speaking about the governor, now let's go to the crux of the matter. Some will say it's appalling that the governor of the state, Uba Sani, who accompanied the president to COP28 in Dubai, is yet to return home. Now, the question is, what do you think, how do you think that is going to affect, or do you think the state architecture, the state authority is concerned about investors in the state or investment in the state?
You know, the governor might have reasons for why he hasn't come back to the state. He might tell us that he had to do special prayers. He had to stay back to do special prayers for the victims of the bombing. You know, because some of these prayers sometimes they might be more effective outside Nigeria than Nigeria. You know why he has not come in. But you know, people don't understand how irresponsible our politicians are and our political class. I've told you before, they don't care. They don't care. They are building a house, or they are proposing to build a house of 15 billion naira for the vice president.
I mean, in this video,
Renovated?
No, the building is what I heard. What they're renovating is a new one they have to build, from what I heard. The National Assembly had already approved 2.5 billion naira to renovate Akinola Koda House, where the vice president, Oshibajo, stayed, the last vice president. Now, you can imagine where Oshibajo was staying, how pristine
It would have been.
it would have been.
Yes, yes.
It would have been. But they budgeted 2.5 billion naira. And, you know, and I say, look, and you know, there's a word they use over this 15 billion naira for Shettima, the vice president. Befitting. Befitting. The insult against the Nigerian people is unprecedented. befitting. You cannot build a befitting house of 2.5 billion naira, even with the inflation in this country. Give it everything that you want. They cannot. See, the reason is that for you and I, and everybody in this studio, the camera people and the rest, 100,000 is big money. 1 million naira, wow. If somebody gets it, you will get and do special
Thanksgiving
in the church or in the mosque for 1 million naira, which is part of the inflation.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about 15 billion. And they say it's not even that is justified. The vice president came to justify it. And the Jew Ibrahim, the people that went to Dubai for the COP28, even if you take 640 something from what the government said, was it 600 something or 400 something?
400 and
good.
Yes.
Even if you take that into consideration, it is still obscenely too much.
True.
Obscenely. But Jimo Ibrahim came and said it was not even enough. Why did Jimo Ibrahim say so? Because the country is rich. For them. Not for the ordinary people. You know, and so when you're making noise, and no wonder somebody told me, it was a senator at a meeting in Abuja. They were discussing among the members of the National Assembly, and they're saying that for those people who don't come back, and that goes to the question you were asking about the desperation, those who don't come back with all the monies they're making, they were saying among themselves that 3 months after they have left office, maybe they are not able to win re-election. They are calling them to beg for 30,000, 20,000, their former colleagues who were senators or members of National Assembly and who were short. I mean, people who have made this kind of money. You understand? Like they are calling them and they are so desperate, they need, please, can you send me 30,000, 20,000 naira? That's why election means everything to them, and they will do everything to manipulate the process. Because without that, without them being in power, they are like fish out of water. They die off naturally. They don't have any other business. They don't have any other investment. The only investment they have is the investment in the politics of the country via elections. You know, so these are some of the situations that we're facing. That the governor did come back. What are the people going to do? One day the governor will come back. Maybe tomorrow, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks after the special prayers. And you know that they are also doing prayers in Abuja. Prayers that become blessings. You know, that are sent to people's account. You know that. So by the time he now comes back, they will mobilize the people to go and welcome him. The government appointed or established NGOs, our people, people, to go and welcome the governor. It is a sad reality of this country that sometimes when you look, you're going to say, it's like a quotation from scriptures, from whence will our help come from? Yes, and so from whence will our help come from? But we have to, perhaps programs like this are also important because people will tell you you're wasting your time. I've heard people say, all these things, grammar, English, you're wasting your time. But sometimes the way some of these politicians respond to some of these things, you realize that they're also worried about what some of us are saying. They know the truth, and they know that history will not be kind to them.
But do you think they are scared? Do you think they have even a bit of fear in them?
Kame has said that Nigeria is a criminally run corporation where the leaders are armed and hidden in the safe. So, first of all, it's an organization. It's not a country. From Kameya's perspective, it's a corporation. It's a business. Nigeria is a business. So the leaders are armed. Where's the arm coming from? The police that protect them. The soldiers that look after them with their guns and the rest. And he says that once you have that situation, that they are permanently inside our safe, stealing our money. That's so. From that perspective, they are not so scared of us, the people, but they are scared of the consequences of what they have done to this country. That's why they drive. Why do you think they buy bulletproof cars? It's fear. Why do you think that anytime they have to move from this place to this place? It's fear. The Attorney General, and Minister of Justice, just said a few days ago that that they should be hiring jets, private jets, for judges that are involved in city government as involved in action terrorism. Private jets for judges. Oh, the government is very happy with judges. Some of us have an idea why they are very, very happy with Nigerian judges. So they will go out of their way to make the judges even more happy. I'm not saying more than that, but we all know as Nigerians, you know. So meanwhile, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice didn't tell us how many judges have been attacked who have been supervising adjudication of a terrorist in this country. Not one I hear has been attacked. The one that was attacked in Imo, killed in the chambers, a magistrate, was not by judges. It was done by terrorists, maybe unknown government. Are you going to also provide private jets for them? You see the thinking, there's no money. People are struggling every day to feed themselves in this country. People are removing their children from schools that were paying high fees and looking for maybe less quality schools. And every day they are hearing about what is going on. No wonder people are beginning to say, why should we pay taxes when these taxes end up in the pocket of some of these people? And that's why I use the word, we're conquering people. We might not be for too long.
On our last note, what's the way forward?
Well, the way forward is simple. The way forward is to allow votes from the electorate count. Because that's where this whole thing, conversation is stemming from.
Yeah.
And so if somebody is from Bottle's party, and that's the party that pulled the largest votes, he's the person acting in office. The perpetuity of a particular political party in power is what triggers desperation, and what triggers all of these electoral practices we have that snowball into insecurity on a wider scale. Like he said, there are many terrorists, suspected terrorists, arrested and tried in court. Their judges were safe. It is in the electoral matter that the judges are not. You know, so please, the government also, if you ask me, should behave with sanity. If my salary was 1 million, there's a particular lifestyle I'll be living. By the time my salary is now 400,000, there is also a particular lifestyle I will live. So if the government tells Nigerians, we are broke, and every day they spend higher than the broke situation, it's dialectic to reality. It is dialectic, and it breaks down trust between the masses and the government. So the government, for me, should demonstrate naked sanity. The world that you see, and you know that even if the government is not close to you, you can feel the sensitivity in what they are doing. Nigerians love the government. What Nigerians want is the government to give them more reasons to continue to love their government.
Leaders should allow Nigerians see reasons to love them and love the way they lead us. That is just about what we have on our Enterprise Morning program today. And many thanks to you, gentlemen, Mr. Innocent Adolugba and Mr. Achike Chud. Thank you so very much for being part of our program this morning.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And to you, our viewers, we'd love to say many thanks to you for always keeping a date with us on Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. And also remember to follow us on all our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV 7. My name is Henry Igwebike. Bye-bye.
Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.